Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, was Shaq absolutely right about the Clippers? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, I want to thank you guys who signed up to the Dreamerspro Max platform. I had a lot of fun chatting with you guys during the game yesterday, you know, just going back and forth. y'all had a lot of some funny things to say on there, so I really enjoyed it. Now, I know some people have expressed interest in the platform, but some people said, hey, can we just get it for like a free trial to see what it's all about first before we make a decision, so we understand that. So what Marco and I did was that we decided to give you, so if you're interested, you can sign up and get 7 days of free access. So you can go in there, you won't be charged or anything like this, and you can cancel any time before those 7 days just to check it out and see what it's all about. See if you like the platform, see what it is, and then from there you can make a decision on that. Anyway, so let me get back into the content right here. So listen, the Clippers have been inconsistent all season long. We just recently did a video about that, about their inconsistency. We just did that, and here are some of the major areas that here's some of the major reasons for that. Number one, injuries. The Clippers have had at least 35. They've had their key players miss at least 35 games this season. Just last night, Marcus Morris Sr., who was in the game, went out with a concussion. Boom, in the middle of the game. Right before tip-off, we found out that Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing. I think he's now missed about, I think at this point has missed about 8 games this season. Last night they said he couldn't go because of back spasms. They said he was out there training, and all of a sudden the medical staff just came and yanked him off the floor and said, hey, you're not playing tonight, so head to the bench. So that's one thing. Another thing is the inconsistent play from our favorite player in the world, Kawhi Leonard, in the clutch. Kawhi Leonard has been one of the worst players in the clutch this season. He's just not been good. I think he's been the third worst, and I think he's shooting 28 or 29, 30% in the clutch this season, and that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough for a guy at that caliber. If you look at Paul George has not been really playing well down the stretch, and he himself has been inconsistent. Overall, they have great numbers. They're putting up great individual numbers, but in key moments, they've not been who the team needed them to be. Last night, you saw Paul George try to make it work. Again, I don't fault a guy for shooting a lot, especially when you're expected to shoot and you're brought there for that reason. At least you're not being passive and turning down shots. Last year in the bubble, Paul George refused to shoot. Like, his confidence went straight out the window. So at least this time he's trying. Not like I said, oh my God, he's running away from the ball. Anybody can miss shots. Let's be clear. Anybody can miss shots, game-winning shots. Everybody can miss them. I've seen Kobe miss them. I've seen LeBron miss them. I've seen Kawhi miss them. No one is going to fault you for missing a game-tying or game-winning shot. No one is faulting you for that. What people fault you for is when you start making bad decisions, and then it happens too many times, right? Paul George last night tried to tie the game. Sometimes he rushed his shot. You could see at certain points he got in his head, which is understandable. At least he tried, but you would like for him to be better in those situations. I think it shows something that he's willing to take and make those shots, because now Kawhi wasn't playing, so he needed to do that. A lot of it also has to do with their late game execution. If you think of the Milwaukee Bucks game when they were playing against the Milwaukee Bucks, I think they had them. They were up 100-96, and then they missed the next 7 field goal attempts that they took. They missed all of them, and they couldn't execute down the stretch, and they lost that game. So that was something. And Kawhi Leonard didn't come up clutch when you needed him. Rushed the three-pointer at the end of the game when he didn't need to, taking it, I think, like close to 30 feet out. He didn't need to do that, right? So with all of these problems, the Clippers still are still currently one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Now, last night they dropped down to the 5th spot, but that's because the games are so close. As far as the loss column, because they dropped to 5, the Lakers dropped to 3, if I'm not mistaken. I have the NBA standings. Let me just pull them up here for a second in the Western Conference. Okay, so these are the current standings. You have the Jazz, number 1, the Phoenix Suns, because they beat the Lakers after Devin Booker was tossed out of that game, which was a bogus call. They're number 2, the Lakers are number 3, and the Clippers are number 4. Just with one loss, teams drop. Clippers drop 1 position from 3 to 4. Lakers drop from 2 to 3. That's how it is in the West. It's really tight. So no one is like, oh my God. It's just move. Things like that happen. There's going to be movement, and expect more movement to ensue as the season progresses. Now, last night before the game, I thought I could find the clip. Unfortunately, I can't. I was just watching it before the game, before the tip-off on TNT with, I think her name is Candace Parker. No, I hope I didn't get it wrong. The former basketball player, Dwayne Wade and Shaq. I hope I'm saying the right person's name. But before the game, Shaq spoke about the Clippers. And here are some of the things that he said. And this is what I really want to focus on. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio. He said, number one, he said that they're currently coasting. He believes that the Clippers are coasting right now, although they're not perfect. He believes that they know that they're a good team, but they're not playing their best basketball. They're kind of pacing themselves for the playoffs. So he said they're kind of coasting. He said there's still some things that they have to work on as a team. There's some areas that they need to get better on, like their late game execution and stuff like this. He said they know what happened. I'm just paraphrasing at this point. He said they remember what happened to them last year in the bubble when they blew that 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets, and they know that they have to make up for that. He said, but he believes that they have everything that they need to get it done, and they need to make the most of what they have and go out there and try to win it all. So basically what Shaq is saying, a few things. Number one, Shaq is a multiple-time champion, 4-time champion. He said, listen, this team is kind of pacing themselves. Number two, they're not really trying to panic. They're not trying to panic their way into the playoffs. They understand that there are some things that they need to work on in order to perform at a high level going into the playoffs. Another thing that he said, which kind of surprised me, is that he believes that they have everything that they need to get the job done. Now, that's the part I want to kind of focus in on. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. There are no perfect teams in the NBA. There are just no perfect teams. If you look at the Brooklyn Nets, for example, the Brooklyn Nets are amazing offensively, the best offensive team in basketball, probably going to end up being the best offensive team of all time, but they lack size and they don't play great defense. That's their Achilles heel. They lack size, they lack depth, they don't play defense. If you look at the Lakers are balanced, but they're not really a great shooting team. In fact, the Lakers are only shooting 34% from the three as a team. Right? The Clippers are shooting 42, a league best, right? If you look at the Clippers, they're very talented, but they're inconsistent and they lack a true point guard, a playmaking point guard that can score, play defense, and hit threes, right? If you look at the Sixers are youthful, a very youthful team with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, very youthful, very talented, but unproven, right? And you can go on and on and on and on and on through. You can comb through the entire NBA and look for different teams, and you can always point to something that is, okay, this is the thing, the area that they're lacking, and etc. So there are no perfect teams in the NBA. I think Shaquille O'Neal understands that. I think Shaq knows that Shaq was never on a perfect team, right? Even when he was with the late and great Kobe Bryant, when he won back to back, when he three-peated. So we can talk about Shaq was the most dominating force in NBA history, and he was, but Shaq couldn't hit free throws. And that's something that the Lakers team, Phil Jackson and these guys, had to work with and work around. You have to understand, okay, our best player at the time, or our most dominant player at the time, he can't be stopped, but the only thing is he's only going to hit 50 to 60% of his free throws, and we need to find a way to work around that. That was Achilles' heel of that team. It was Shaq late game free throw shooting, but they had other things. They had clutch players like Kobe Bryant, Robert Horry, Derek Fisher, and so many other players on that team that could kind of help them make up for different spots. And you make the best with what you have. I think what Shaq is trying to allude to is you got to make the best of what you have. Now, these are my thoughts. I agree with Shaq, okay, because I think if the Clippers are not able to make any moves, let's assume that they're not able to get any other point guards out there. They can't make any more moves. Let's say they don't make any moves before the trade deadline. My point is they're good enough to figure it out. That's my point. You don't want to bail them out and say, oh, well, they couldn't make it to the Western Final because no. In the West right now, I think the West, although the Lakers and I think the Clippers are the best two teams, but it's not like a sure thing that these teams are going to make it to the Western Conference Finals. The Phoenix Suns are coming. The Utah Jazz have been the best team in the NBA all season. So it's not like as if, it's just wide open, which means that the Clippers have a shot. I mean, it's not that as if it's a sure thing. So it means that the Clippers have a shot. They have a shot to go in there and possibly make it to the at least the Western Conference Finals and ultimately make it to the NBA Finals. And no one is going to say if they don't make, they didn't have enough talent. And that's just an excuse at this point because they're one of the most talented and one of the deepest teams in the NBA. And in that sense, I agree with Shaq. Now, Shaq seems to be a realist. He seems to be a no nonsense, no excuses type of guy. And he doesn't like the baby guys, which is something I actually like about Shaq because that's his style. That's his style. You have enough people in media that like to coddle and baby guys, and Shaq, that's his own style. And you got to respect him for that. That's what makes him different, right? If he wasn't like that, he would be somebody else, and then he's no longer Shaq. So I like that about him. I think he is right in the sense that the Clippers don't need to hit the panic button, but they have some things to work on, like their late game execution. Kawhi Leonard needs to be more efficient in clutch moments. Paul George needs to be more consistent. We agree on that. They need to kind of figure out their rotations and their point guard issues. But at the same time, I still think they have enough to compete and go out there and win it all. That's my opinion. I think they have enough to go. They have enough to compete to go out there and win it all. So in that sense, you don't want to make any excuses for them. You don't want to make any excuses for them. And for that, I agree with Shaq. So for me, what I want to know from you guys is, do you think Shaq was right about the Clippers, or do you think Shaq doesn't know what he's talking about? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the next video that we have coming up on the channel. And don't forget to check out the Dreamerspro Max platform, which is linked in the description below. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day, and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.